Today we're going to talk about how we can graph lines in a different way from what we've been doing. If you guys remember, what we've been doing to graph an equation of a line is we've been making a function table. We've been picking different values for x. We put it into the equation. We figure out what y is. We get an ordered pair, and then we plot it. And we do that 3 or 4 times. We make sure that they're all in a line, and then we draw the line through them. What we're going to do is we're going to do this kind of the same way, except we're going to pick numbers for x and y so that it's actually a little bit easier to do. So to start with, we're just going to do the algebra part of it. So we're going to look at an equation, and we're going to figure out what points are going to work in this equation. Go ahead and write this example down if you haven't already. Next to example 1, we have the equation 3x plus 2y equals 6. And what we want to do here is 2 things. We want to figure out the value of x. So we want to see what x equals when y equals 0. So to do that, what are we going to do? We're going to put 0 in for y. And then we're going to solve for x. And then we want to find the value of y when x equals 0. So when we do that, we're going to put 0 in for x and then solve for y. Alright, so we're going to do this both ways. We're going to put 0 in for y first, and then we're going to put 0 in for x second. So let's go ahead and do this together. The first one here for part A, I want to figure out what x equals when y equals 0. So I'm going to write this here, just a reminder what we're doing here. We're going to put 0 in for y. So what's the equation going to look like once I put 0 in for y?
3x plus 2 parentheses 0 equals 6.
Okay, good. So we have 3x plus 2 times 0. Should be a 6. I know you did. So why do you think we picked 0? We picked 0 because it's a really easy number to work with. What is 0 times 2? 0. And what is 3x plus 0? So this is going to be 0. And if we take 3x plus 0, what do we get? It's just 3x, right? This right here just goes away. And what we have is 3x equals 6. So how do I get x by itself then? Divide by 3. We've solved equations like this before, right? So we divide by 3. I'm not even going to make you draw the line here. But you need to divide by 3 on both sides. The 3's cancel. So what do we have on the left side? And what do we have on the right side? 2. Now, it says here, write your answers as an ordered pair. Well, we got x equals 2. So how do I write that as an ordered pair? Why 2, 0, Jake? Well, there is a y, but what is y? Yeah, y equals 0. So if you remember, we said y equals 0 to start with, and then we got x equals 2, so we put 2 first and 0 second, because x equals 2 and y equals 0. So this right here is a point that's going to be on this line. Okay, let's do it again, but for part B, we're going to let x equals 0. So we're going to say x equals 0, which means the equation is going to look like what? 3 times plus 2y equals 6. And what's going to happen with this 3 times 0 here? It's 0. It just goes away. It's gone. So what we really have is 2y equals 6. So what do we need to do to get y by itself? Divide by 2. When we divide by 2, we get y on the left side and we get 3 on the right side. So what is this ordered pair going to be? 3, 0? 0, 3, right? Because x always comes first, and we said that x is 0, y is 3. So since x comes first, we're going to have 0 first and 3 second. And there's your other ordered pair. So we picked zeros for x and for y because 0 is really easy to work with. And all we really have to do once we put 0 in is divide one time, and we figure out what the other one equals. So when we say y equals 0, we divide by 3 and we get x equals 2. When we say x equals 0, we divide by 2 and we get y equals 3. This gives us 2 points. Now we'll talk later about what this looks like and why we did that. But those 2 points are going to be enough to figure out what this line is going to look like. So this is actually going to be a lot less work than what we were doing with the function tables. All right, so let's look at another example. Here's example 2. I want you to go ahead and try the same thing. The directions are exactly the same. So try the same thing with this equation. So for part A, we're going to let y equals 0. So I'm just going to write that here as a reminder. We're actually going to get to the point, if you want, we'll let you leave this part off. It's good to have that there, though, because it just reminds me that y equals 0. Later on, I'll have x equals something, so it'll help me write the ordered pair. So it's a good idea to keep writing that. So, Claire, once we have that, what's it going to look like?
2x minus 4 parentheses 0. And then equal 12.
Okay, good. So 2x minus 4 times 0 equals 12. And what's going to happen with that 4 times 0?
0.
Yeah, that just goes away. I'm going to scratch that off. Just pretend like it's not even there. So we have 2x equals 12. So, Claire, what do we have to do to solve that?
Hold on, you guys looking funny. 2x equals
Claire, how do we
12.
get the x by itself?
I'm telling you. Chill. Divided by 2.
Okay, divide by 2. And when we divide by 2, we're going to have the 2's cancel here, and what's left?
X equals 6.
Okay, good. So we have x on the left side and 6 on the right side, which means that the ordered pair is going to be what?
6, 0.
Yeah, good. So we write x first, that's 6, and then y second, that's 0. So we get 6, 0. Put a box around that to show that's your answer. Good, Claire. How about y? Who wants to, or part B? Who wants to help me with that? Go ahead, Aaron. Okay, good. So we're going to let x equal 0, which means the equation is going to look like what? Okay, good. So we have 2 times 0 minus 4y equals 12. And what's going to happen to that 2 times 0? Yeah, that's going to go away. Should that negative sign go away too? No, this negative sign here, that's attached to the 4. This is a negative 4 here. So, Aaron, we have to get rid of this negative 4 now. How do I do that? Okay, good. So we're going to divide by negative 4. And when we do that, the negative 4's cancel each other out. And what's left on the left side? On the left side. So we got y equals, on the right side, negative 3. Good. So we get y equals negative 3. So we're going to write our ordered pair now. Which one comes first, the negative 3 or the 0? Okay, the 0 comes first because that's x, and then negative 3 for y. So we get 0, comma, negative 3. Before we move on here, I want to talk about something called intercepts. And the intercepts are something that talk about what a line does, and more specifically where a line crosses something. So there's going to be 2 intercepts. Does anybody know what the word intercept means? In math, we hear this term in football a lot, but in math we talk about intercepts as being where a line goes through something or where a line crosses another line. So there's going to be 2 different intercepts. We're going to have an x-intercept and a y-intercept. And the reason we have 2 intercepts is because we have 2 what? In the picture here, we have 2 of what? We have 2 axes, right? We have the x-axis and the y-axis. So we're going to have an intercept on the x-axis and we're going to have an intercept on the y-axis. And as Aaron said, it's just where the line goes through the axis. So, for example, this line, this is going to be example 3. This line here crosses the y-axis somewhere and it crosses the x-axis somewhere. And we're going to call those somewheres the intercepts. So let's start with the x-intercept. The x-intercept is going to be positive 2. Why, Aaron? Yeah, if you look at where the line crosses the x-axis, this is right here, that's going to be the intercept. So where it crosses the x-axis is going to be the x-intercept. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to write this as an ordered pair. So the x-intercept is going to be what? What is the ordered pair for this point right here? It's going to be 2, 0. And don't forget the parentheses. Go ahead and write that down. And then the y-intercept is going to be at what point? Yeah, that's going to be where it crosses the y-axis, so that's going to be at positive 1. So is that at 1, 0? No. It's going to be 0, 1, right? So since it's on the y-axis, we didn't go left or right from the origin, so that's going to be an x value of 0, and then we're going to go up to positive 1. So the y-intercept is going to be 0, 1. Now what we're going to start doing is we're going to start writing this in a shorthand here. Since the x-intercept is always going to be on the x-axis, that means that the y number here, this number is always going to be what? Somebody just said it. 0. So for the x-intercept, the y is always going to be 0. For the y-intercept, the x is always going to be 0. Does that sound familiar? When did we have x equals 0 and y equals 0? Those first two examples, right? So what we were actually doing in those first two examples was finding intercepts. So we were figuring out where the lines are going to cross the axes. So since this x-intercept is always going to have a y that's equal to 0, and since the y-intercept is always going to have x equal to 0, what we're going to do is we're going to write this a little bit shorter, and we're just going to say the x-intercept is 2, and that's all we have to do. You don't have to say that y is 0. You don't have to write it as an ordered pair. And we're going to say that the y-intercept is what? 1. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Okay? This right here, these ordered pairs mean the same thing as this right here. Because we know that the x and the y have to be 0 when the y-intercept is something and the x-intercept is something. All right, so go ahead and do the same thing here. I want you to find the x and the y-intercepts for this line right here. And actually go ahead and do it for the next two lines. You've got those on your notes. All right, so in example 4, what is the x-intercept going to be? -2, because it crosses the x-axis right here at -2. And what's the y-intercept going to be? It's going to be 3 because it crosses the y-intercept right there at 3. This is probably the easiest thing we've done all year, isn't it? I hope. All right, how about this one? The x-intercept is going to be what? X-intercept is going to be 1. And the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, is -3. So intercepts are where a line crosses and what? An axis. All right, and there's two axes. So the x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis. And the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. And for the intercepts, you can write them one of two ways. For the x-intercept, you can just give the number where it crosses, or you can write it as an ordered pair. And if you write the x-intercept as an ordered pair, then y is always going to equal 0. So it's going to be a number, comma, 0. And the y-intercept is the opposite. So you could just give the number where it crosses the y-axis, or you could write 0, comma, whatever the number is. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do this the other way. I want you to flip this over. You're going to graph 3 lines in that coordinate plane you have up at the top. The first one is line A. It has an x-intercept that's equal to 3 and a y-intercept that's equal to -4. Go ahead and write these numbers on your notes here. And then I want you to graph it. All right, so if the x-intercept is 3, what do I do? Okay, so I go to where the 3 is on which axis? Should I go here or should I go here? The one on the right. Why, Claire? Yeah, this is the x-axis right here. So this is where x equals 3 on the x-axis. And then the y-intercept is -4. So where's that going to be? If I start at the origin, where do I go? I'm going to go down 4 to right there. And there's my y-intercept of -4. And then the last thing I need to do here is what? What do I need to do to finish up? We need to draw our line here. When you draw your line, be sure you use something straight to help you draw the line. The edge of your folder works great. That's not straight. So use something straight to draw your line, and you should end up with a line that looks something like this. Couple of things about this line. First of all, what am I missing here? Okay, let's put the arrows to show that line's going to keep going. And then the other thing, since we're going to graph 3 lines in the same coordinate plane, I want you to label this line A. So just put an A next to the end of this line here so you know that that one's from example 6. Okay? Any questions about that one? Alright, so then here's example 7. X-intercept is -6, the y-intercept is +6. Go ahead and graph it, draw your line, label your line B. So where's the x-intercept going to be? Which way do I go? Yeah, I start at the origin, I'm going to go left 6, and I'll have my x-intercept right here. And then my y-intercept, I'm going to go which way? Up 6. So I'm going to count up 6, and I get a y-intercept right here. Use your folder or something straight to draw your line. Should get a line that looks like that. And then what else do I need here? Need my arrows and, yeah, label it so we know which one's which. Okay? Any questions about that one? Alright, last example of these, and then we'll move on to something different. So the x-intercept here is -3, the y-intercept is -9. X-intercept. We're going to go left 3, put our point for the y-intercept. Going to go down. Your coordinate plane looks a little different, so for -9 you would go down to the bottom of the arrow roughly. -8 would be right here for me. And then what's this line going to look like? It's going to go through those 2 points, right? Draw a nice straight line that goes through those points. Put your arrows, and what else? Label it C. So put your labels on there so you know which line is which. So far we started with solving some equations where we had to find the x and the y-intercepts by putting 0 in for y and x. And what we got was 2 points. So what we're going to do is we're going to find those intercepts now. So how do I figure out what the x and the y-intercepts are going to be? What do I do? Somebody over here said it. We're going to put 0 in for either x or y. And it doesn't matter which one you do first. What do you guys want to start with? Alright, so we'll say that x equals 0. So if x equals 0, then what? What's it going to look like? -4 times 0 plus 3y equals 24. And this -4 times 0, that's just going to scratch out. So we have 3y equals 24. And what do I do to get y by itself? Divide by 3. And the 3's are going to cancel. We get y equals what? 8. So what's the ordered pair going to be?
We just gonna scratch it out. Whichever
Whichever one has 0, we're just going to scratch it out. So when we put 0 in for x, we get y equals 8. So we get the point 0, 8, and that's going to be the first of my intercepts. Where is 0, 8? Let's go ahead and graph that right off the bat. Which way do we go? We're going to go up 8. So we started the origin, we go up 8. There's your, which intercept is that? That's the y-intercept. So when we put 0 in for x, that's going to give us the y-intercept. Now let's find the x-intercept. So to find the x-intercept, what are we going to do? We're going to put 0 in for y. So we're going to say y equals 0. And then that equation is going to look like what? Plus 3 times 0 equals 24, right? Scratch out the 0 one and divide by -4. And so we get x equals -6. So our ordered pair is going to be what? 0, -6, or -6, 0? -6, 0, because we have x equals -6 and y equals 0. So we have -6, 0, and where is that point going to be? Starting at the origin, we're going to go left 6, and we get right there.
Oh.
Yep. Sorry, I gave you guys a different coordinate plane than you have, or than I have. And then we draw our line through the points. Kind of missed the points there. Let me move it a sec. Put our arrows. And we're done. So what we just did here is something that we had to make a whole function table for last week. And now what we're doing is just finding 2 points. We find where it crosses the y-axis, we find where it crosses the x-axis by using zeros, and we're done. That's all you have to do. So let's do one more. And actually, let me change this for you right off the bat, since your coordinate plane is not big enough. Make this 2x plus 5y equals 10. So if we let's start with the x again like we did last time. If we're going to let x equal 0, when we put 0 in for x, what's going to happen to this part right here? We're going to scratch that out later, right? So instead of writing it down and then scratching it out, what could we do?
Keep going.
Just leave it off. We don't even have to write it down. So since we're putting 0 in for x, the term with the x in it, don't even write that down. So all we're going to have for that one is 5y equals 10. And you can just start with that. Does that make sense? So you get 5y equals 10, divide by 5 on both sides, and you get y equals what? You get y equals 2. So then the ordered pair is going to be 0, 2. Let's go ahead and plot that, which is going to be up 2 right there. And then same thing for the other one. If we're going to let y equals 0, then that means this 5y here is going to go away. We're going to scratch that out. So instead of writing 2x plus 5 times 0, we can just write 2x equals 10. We'll just leave the y out of there. And then this time we have to divide by 2. And when the 2's cancel here, we get x equals 5. So our ordered pair here is going to be 5, 0. And where's that going to be? Going to go right 5. And we get a line that looks like this. Don't forget your arrows. Make sure you make your line nice and straight.